Hey, what's going on, everyone? Aaron here, and thank you for coming by and watching either this podcast video or listening to the podcast. And today we are going to be talking with Patrina Dixon, who is a financial coach who actually works here in Connecticut. So I thought we'd be great to have her on the podcast here and on this YouTube video so we can talk more about, financial education when it comes to buying a home and just kind of making sure you have your ducks in a row. So when you do decide to buy, there's no hiccups, because when you do buy a home, sometimes the financials can creep up and kind of can destroy a deal. So I'm not going to talk any longer. I'd like to introduce Patrina. Patrina, welcome to the YouTube channel if they're watching this, or the podcast. Thank you for making time today to come on. I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely, Aaron. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
So you are in Connecticut, like I said. You
I
are
am.
a financial educational coach. Is that the best way to put it?
That you did really well.
Okay, great. So kind of give us your backstory. How did you get started?
Yeah, so my backstory is simply that my finances were jacked up. And not because I didn't have money or make money or have a job. I had a really great job, which I still have today. And I made a lot of money, but I spent just as much as I made, if not spent it before I even made it. So it was all about getting paid and then going to buy something, having things to show that I had a lot of money, as opposed to having assets, money saved, and investments. So one day I had an aha moment that consisted of a bunch of different things. And when I turned that around, I wanted to teach everybody how to do it. And that's what I did. I said, I'm going to start this business and I'm going to coach people on how to enjoy their money in a different way so they can live a better life. And that's what I did. And I wrote a book, and here I am today.
Awesome. So I have to ask, what was that aha moment? What finally clicked for you that you realized that you were just buying stuff? And a lot of people just buy stuff. I listened to a couple different financial educational podcasts, and it's amazing how everybody's always trying to keep up with the Joneses. And you said it perfectly. I think a lot of real estate agents, they spend their commission check before they even get it. And there's actually some companies out there that will lend you money on your closing that's going to be happening within 30 to 90 days.
Yeah, exactly.
So of course they take a chunk, which I just think is insane. But yeah, what was your aha moment? I'm kind of curious.
My aha moment was realizing if the employer that I worked for, which was my only source of income, did not make that direct deposit on Thursday, which is when I used to get paid, and now it's on Friday, that things would flip upside down. Like if there was one mistake and it didn't happen, if it was not the number that I expected it to be, it would then happen. And I'm like, if I didn't have not a little money saved. I had no money saved. I did have my 401k, and that was what that was. And that was actually a default thing as well. But that could be another story for another day. And it was, what am I really doing? Like, what is, like, if something happens, I have nothing to take care of anything in my life. And I was a mom, and I was a single parent at the time. So I'm like, this person is I'm responsible for this person, and I'm not being responsible with my money. And I had to just change that up. And again, it was not about how much I made. It was how I thought about the money that I made, because I made enough money to do all the things that I'm doing now. I just was not doing then. So it was that mind shift change that happened.
Gotcha. That's really important. And I heard, like, I don't know the exact statistic, but I did hear a while ago on a podcast, and it was, I was amazed at the number. I don't know if it was like 80% of Americans, are basically living paycheck to paycheck. They have no savings. If something should happen, that they're going to have to put stuff on credit cards. They have no emergency funds or anything like that. But yeah, it is crazy.
And let me just, if you don't mind, that
No, go right
stat
ahead.
is not, I think it's like 76 maybe, but it's of working Americans. So not, because some people think that stat is, well, there's a lot of people that are unemployed and all that. No, that is of working Americans that don't have money saved. And I was one of those people, but I'm not now. And that's why I'm here coaching folks now.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. So let's talk a little bit about your coaching and how it might be able to help somebody that's thinking of buying a home, whether they're a millennial or a Gen Xer, or I don't know, well, there's still boomers buying houses too, but it just depends. Let's anybody that's looking to buy a house, maybe it's their first home, maybe they're looking to downsize, so they're going to sell a house, they're going to have a bunch of money. to buy something else. But let's start with those first time home buyers, because, my team and I deal a lot with first time home buyers. And, there are a lot of people talking in their ears. Usually it's two sets of parents, or are chirping in everybody's ear and giving them advice. So what are some things that if it was me looking to buy a home and I've already met with a realtor and now I got to make sure my finances are in order, what are some things that I can do today to help start that ball rolling, to make sure I'm in a good financial position when it comes time to buy?
Yeah. So, I'm glad that you set it up that way, because I would have started with, first, you want to make sure that you're ready to even start to have the conversations that you're talking about. Right. So I like to say, put whatever you think your housing expenses would be, 6 months of that, start to do that prior to going into this house. So now let's just start with where you say. So now you're ready. You've met with the realtor. You found the house that you want. Start to look at how much that home, that mortgage price would be, that monthly mortgage price, and then up your current living expenses. So this is somebody that may be renting, even if they're renting from their parents at home. If you don't have a light bill, then you have to average what that light bill is. And most times the real estate person can give you some approximate numbers based on what that house has, people living in that house have established before. So get a sense of what that true monthly amount would be. And then you need to start planning accordingly. So if right now you're paying less than that, then you may need to reduce your spending in some categories so that you'll be able to afford this home. Because oftentimes people work really, really, really hard in many different ways to get into a home, but then they have to stay in that home, right? So that's why they have, people that have a different title for when people are not paying their bills or paying their mortgage. So you want to stay in your home. So it's not just the mortgage price; it's everything that comes along with it. So get an understanding of what that average monthly expense would be. Ensure that you can cover that and still live the life that you have become accustomed to. Find, if that's not the case, then find areas where you can shave off things that or reduce them so that you can make this one of the biggest purchases that you're making in your life, buying this home. So that's what I would encourage you to do. Get an assessment of what that monthly cost would be. Ensure that you can carry that, and then reduce spending. If it's not that what you can carry, that you start to reduce expenses that will allow you to be able to do that. So the very, 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 very important task that you need to do is have a budget. And that budget can be
Ooh, the
in
B
any
word.
format. The B word, right? And I'm going to touch that in a second. So it could be an app, it can be on your phone, it can be pen and paper, just as long as you're doing it. And a lot of people don't do it, Aaron, budget, because they don't like that word. So if you do not like that word, I'm okay with that. Call it your spending plan, call it your spending meeting, call it the intimacy with your money. Whatever you want to call it, just do the exercise of what do you have coming in and what will be going out. And that's what I ask of people to do to prepare themselves for such a purchase.
Okay. Yeah, that's some great advice. I try to have this conversation with homeowners too when they're looking to buy, especially first-time home buyers. And Murphy's Law is going to happen. You're going to buy a house. You can do all the inspections to your blue in the face, but I swear, as soon as you move into that house, within the first month, something's breaking. It's just how it works. I don't know why it happens. The house could have been built yesterday, and like the hot water heater will go. So you want to make sure you have those funds set aside for any of those things that might pop up.
That's
So
exactly right. Because you can't call the property manager, right? You are the property
you
manager
are,
when you are
yeah.
a homeowner. So yes, exactly right.
Absolutely. So now you were bringing up the budgeting. Do you have like a percentage wise that you usually instruct people as far as, okay, you have, let's say, $4,000 a month coming in, X amount should be going into savings, X amount should be used for, your spending of free time or your entertainment fund, or however you want to put it. So I personally, we use, and this isn't to plug anybody, but I use Every Dollar from Dave Ramsey. And it's a great app. I have it on my tablet, my phone, and I can plug stuff in. I can connect it right to my bank account. But is there like a formula you use, or is it really depends on each person's individual habits, so to speak?
So there's a lot of people that would say the 50-30-20 rule. So 50% of your major expenses, the 30% on the things that you need to do to keep your home running, and then 20% on saving and investing in your wants, right? This is how I would say it. Personal finance is just that. It's personal. Your percentages need to make sense for your budget and your living expenses. And I say that because sometimes folks don't have enough to have that even percentage on everything. And if that's not your case, that's fine. You can work to get to that. And the way that you get to the define of 50, 30, 20 is looking at your expenses all the time, budgeting, spending plan, intimacy with money, whichever you want to call it.
Yep.
And then you can begin to put your stuff in buckets that will allow you to have cold percentage or hard percentages like that. When people do not budget, you budget right now, you use a tool, that's great. But those that are starting out budgeting, I encourage the use of pad and pencil. The reason why I do that is when you become intimate with your money, where you're literally writing it down and making those decisions on paper before you're spending it, the intimacy with that allows you to be a better steward of it. And then you transition or graduate to an app of any kind. There's a whole bunch out there. There's sites where you can search depending on what you would like to do within the app, where you can go and do that. So I can definitely share a few apps if you want me to, but
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Any resources you want to throw out there, if you want to put out, I will definitely get all for the show notes. I'll definitely get all your contact information so people can reach out to you directly. But is there a website people can go to reach you or anything like that? Or
Sure. So I have free budgeting resources. My website is itsmymoneyjournal.info. An app that that a lot of people use that has worked really well for them is You Need a Budget, or YNAB. So that's one you can try, as well as Mint is another. That one very comprehensive and have been around for a long time. You can use on the computer and the phone. And then you mentioned one as well. So
okay.
you just really have to choose the one that you will actually use, because a lot of people, and even myself, I've downloaded several of them on my phone, but there's only one that I use a lot, right? And I'm still a paper and pen type girl as well.
Right. Okay, cool. Yeah. And like I said, I'll definitely get all your contact information and stuff so people can reach out to you directly if they need any type of financial education or anything like that. So now that we've talked a little bit about somebody that might be looking to purchase a home or in the home buying process, let's now go to the other end of the spectrum here. So let's say it's somebody that's been in a home for a while, they're downsizing, they're selling their home, and this market is extremely hot right now. And my dog is bumping me. Come on, Striker, go lay down. It's fun recording stuff at home. So let's just say they've had their house in the market, they've sold it because things are selling super fast right now and about 118% over list price, which is insane. But
Wow.
let's just say they're coming into some money. So they sold their house, they're going to get a big check for $100,000 and they're looking to downsize. What are some of the things they can do other than take some of that money and put it into the down payment of the next home? What are some things that they should do with that lump sum of money that they're getting, as opposed to just throwing it in a savings account earning 1% interest?
So first I was going to start with, you want to make sure that you have at least 6 to 8 months of living expenses, even for that downsized home that you plan to move into. You want to have 6 to 8 months of living expenses in an high interest online savings. So I still highly recommend that. And this pandemic has shown us people can lose their jobs, get ill, all kind of things could happen unexpectedly, and who knows what is to come. So if you do not have an emergency, or I like to call it a freedom fund, an emergency savings is what it's also called, I encourage you to start one today, regardless of your situation. But that's what I would say for that, especially if you're getting a large sum of money. Make sure you have a high interest online only savings. So online only is not a brick and mortar bank that also have online capabilities. It's online only, like Marcus from Goldman Sachs, like Capital One 360 Performance, like American Express, like Ally. Those are various different online only banks. So they're not yielding a lot in interest, definitely more than online saving or brick and mortar, that some of them are like 0.02%. Those
Oh, wow.
online savings, high yield accounts at like 0.60 or 0.50, which is better than nothing, right? So
Right.
I encourage that. So you want to sum there. You want to also start making your money work for you. So that can be done in many different ways. It can be through investment opportunities. It can be through Roth IRAs or traditional IRAs, whichever one works best for you and you are eligible for. It can be, a side business, so it can be a full entrepreneurship venture or something on the side that you're doing if you're also working a 9 to 5. So I would encourage encourage you to begin having your money work differently for you, and grow, while you're going to downsize or whatever it is that you're doing. Because we can't call it downsize, because we're at that stage in my life and my husband is not downsizing. We're moving into a different living configuration is what we call it
Gotcha.
here.
I like that.
So I don't use that word often, downsizing.
Yeah, I like that. That's a good way of putting it. Yeah, I don't. Yeah, that is. I've never heard it put that way, but that is a great way. And that's a lot of great advice. I never even thought about just using an online savings type bank only. So that makes perfect sense. Plus, it makes it a little bit harder to get access to that money, I would imagine. So you're not tempted to spend it.
Oh my gosh, Aaron, you hit on the point. That's exactly why. So in addition to it being higher interest yielded on the money that's saved there, and remember the interest is gained by having the money in there for a long period of time. It's not put it in and take it right back out. So that's why you want it in a totally different account, online only. And to your point, Aaron, it is money that will take a little while to get to you, 24 to 48 hours for you to actually get the money, because you can't just walk into an online only savings account, right? So you have to have it connected to another resource that will allow you to get it out. So oftentimes it makes you think like, do I really need it? And then even when you make the transaction, sometimes it's like, oh yeah, forget it, I don't want to do that. And you transfer it back in. So that's that delayed gratification thought process that you'll go through while you wait for your money to be transition to something that you can take it out. So you're absolutely right.
Okay. So those are some great points. I think this is going to help a lot of people that are either like, I said downsizing or or not downsizing, changing the configuration of their housing
Yes.
or buying their first home. I think it's really important. I don't think a lot of people think about finances. Everything's done on a debit card these days and you don't physically handle cash. I mean, I always have cash in my pocket just because I'm more conscious about what I'm spending when I have to take a 20 out of my wallet or, $5 out of my pocket to buy a coffee. I think, so many people just swipe that debit card or put their phone up to the scanner or their watch or what have you, and they pay for their coffee or whatever they're buying. And, it just, the money goes a lot faster and they don't know where it's going. So I don't think a lot of people really think about it. And when they're first starting to buy a house, and then when they actually sit and look at their finances, they're like, wow, I spend a lot of money on this, or, that was, I can't believe I spent, $100 at one of the casinos here or something like that,
Yeah,
So it's just
exactly.
those things. I think that once people really start thinking about it and they actually, like you said, write it down on a pad of paper with a pen, or they are, they have those budgets, so those buckets or envelopes or whatever you want to call them set up where they know exactly what they're spending. I think I mean, on average, do you think people find more money than they thought they had when they start actually budgeting stuff?
Oh, do I think I've seen the eyes widen when folks actually sit down? So pre-pandemic, folks would come into my office to work with me on coaching them, and they would walk in or secure my services with under the guise or premise of I'm living paycheck to paycheck. I don't have enough to take care of everything. So when they would come in, they would sit down and I would literally hand them a budget, and they would walk through writing down what they get in on a biweekly or weekly basis, whatever their situation was, and they would start to write down what their bills are. And they would see on paper, like, wait a minute, this is saying I have X amount left over. I never have anything left over after my paycheck. And I was like, well, you're right. Like, I'm not writing the numbers. Like, use their real bills, their actual pay stub. Oftentimes they're looking on the phone and see what it really is. And you know what it really boils down to is most people don't sit down and take that 15, 20 minutes to actually do the exercise of spending time with their money prior to spending. What typically happens, and I see this a lot, is that someone would get paid. They would go through, and you get paid at most at the end of the week, and they're going through that weekend doing whatever it is that they're doing, buying their groceries, putting gas in their car, doing all that. And then Monday or Tuesday, they're looking at the balance on their phone, like, what? That's all I had left. But they did not realize or count in the soda, the bottled water, the whatever it is. When they went to pay for the gas, they also had the kids pick up, like all of that is not accounted for. And that that accumulates, or reduces out of your account really, really, really quickly. So when they sit down, they're like, I don't understand how this is showing I have so much left over, because I never had this after my paycheck. And then they begin to I see in their eyes widen, like, oh, okay, if I do it this way and I do it that way. And it's not about restricting yourself to be from being able to do stuff. It's about doing it guilt-free, doing it stress-free. You have that line item for your gourmet coffee, you're taking the kids for ice cream or frozen yogurt, whatever it is. You know that you only have $30 for that, so you're not going to get have that tub of ice cream to be weigh a lot more, because that's going to bring you over your 30, because you know in your head or in your wallet you only have 30 for that particular line item. So that's what I find happens, coming in not realizing where the money is going, and then sitting down, being sort of forced or held accountable to sit down and actually do it, and then finding that they really do, and then start redirecting it accordingly. So it's really that mind shift, is really doing it prior and not after, and then things start to change.
Yeah, those are a lot of good points. And I really like the way you put it. It is a mind shift. It is thinking about your money differently. And really, there's some people that I've talked to that money was never discussed in their households, and it just kind of was there, and then it was gone, and then it came in, and then it left, or, their parents live paycheck to paycheck. So they're repeating the cycle. And, I've talked to a bunch of people that you've been renting their whole life, and they didn't realize that, hey, I'm paying $1,400 a month in rent. I could be owning a really nice house here in Connecticut for $1,400 a month, with the different programs that are out there, whether it's FHA, VA, USDA, or they're using a CHFA loan through the state, in just breaking that barrier in their mind to say, hey, listen, yeah, I can afford a house. I can actually enjoy where I'm living, and I don't have to be stuck in this apartment with somebody above me who, dances all night long with clogs on and makes noise.
Exactly
So
right. That's exactly right.
I think it's, I never really thought of it that way, as you put it, that it is a mind shift. Like, people really have to dive into it and really change the way they view money, or how they, how they work with it. I think that's really important.
That's exactly right. And one of the things that you mentioned, you keep dropping little nuggets on your own too, is that cash thing. So oftentimes, and because this actually worked for me, it wasn't my budgeted envelopes at the time, but I was spending a lot of money on gourmet coffee, a lot. And I knew when after having that aha moment I talked about at the beginning, I had to do something different. And the different thing for me was spending less on gourmet coffee. But to your point, when I go and swipe my card, that wasn't changing it. It didn't stop me from doing it. I'm like, I'm a grown woman. I make a lot of money. If I want to spend almost $3 for a coffee, I'm going to do it whenever I want to do it. Like, nobody's going to tell me otherwise, right? But I did not realize when I totaled that up for a 2-week span, meaning paycheck to pay, when I went from one paycheck to the next, how much I was really spending. And then I was introduced to budget envelopes, where I would actually put the cash in. So within my budget that I talked about earlier, my spending plan, I said, okay, this is the amount for coffee. And then I would put that cash in the envelope. And that really began to help me reduce the amount of money I was spending in that category. So when I work with clients, what I share with them is whatever that vice is for you. For me, it was gourmet coffee. It may be frozen yogurt. It may be whatever it is, right? Going out to eat or takeout or whatever it is. For that particular item only, not for everything, get a budget and envelope. It can be an envelope from a Dollar Tree. You don't have to buy any special envelope. That will be your going out to eat envelope. Allocate within your overall budget how much you're going to spend on that item that you know you need to reduce, but you don't want to get rid of because you enjoy doing it, right? And then you put that money in there and you do it as much as you want, as long as it's within that amount that you put in that envelope. Once it's gone, you don't replenish the envelope until you get paid again. So their way, you doing what you enjoy doing, it's within your budget, and you can feel free doing it because you've planned for it accordingly. As opposed to, oh, I don't feel like cooking. I've worked all day. The kids are running around. Let me just order pizza. And you do that every day. And before you know it, you spent $300 in the weekend going out to eat. So
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, we've even used the envelopes here in our household. Again, the guy I listened to was a big fan of them, and so we did stuff like that. And it's definitely helps. It really, when you start actually putting that physical money into those envelopes, it changes things. You're like, okay, I've got X amount of dollars saved up for my oil, or grocery shopping, or the kids' clothing fund, or what have you. But yeah, these have been some really helpful tips. I think a lot of people that are, in the market to buy, I think just in general, I think it's good to be more financially educated on your funds and where your money goes. So if somebody wants to reach out to you and they've listened to this podcast, they watch the video here on YouTube, and they reach out to you, how does your talk a little bit about your training program or your coaching program, as far as, you know, somebody reaching out to you and getting started and kind of what the process is. And we'll kind of end it there. I don't want to take up too much of your time. It's getting late and I've got to do some more cooking here for the family. So just, you know, real quick, what is it, you know, how does the whole process start when somebody reaches out to you?
Sure. So first, Aaron, I want to thank you for having me on the show. I really appreciate it being here. It's been a great conversation. So the way the coaching program works, so you can work individually with me one-on-one. That investment is over a 90-day period, and we go through various different things. I also have a group coaching program that you can also be a part of. And lastly, there is a not do it yourself, but a self-paced coaching program that you can also. So those are three different avenues that you can work with me and team to get your finances in order. And basically, we become accountability partners, right? So that there's a lot of things that folks know how to do, but they don't stay on track. So we help you stay on track by getting yourself organized, knowing how much you have coming in and going out. And you'd be surprised. People really don't know how much they have coming in unless they sit down and look at it. They always round out, and usually they round up, which is why they fall off on the other side instead of for coming in the actual number. So there's various different exercises that you go through to help you sustain everything that we taught. So then when you're off boarded, you can continue along the path that we got you on. So that is a 90-day individual one-on-one program. The other programs, coaching programs, are self-paced. So you can go through it as quickly as you want or as slowly as you want or with your family, however you want to do it. I also give a lot of information on my social platforms. So I am across Instagram and Twitter at @itsmymoney_. That's itsmymoney_. And then I also have a Facebook community. So again, we engage, people can share. If you aren't ready to make an investment to work one-on-one or in a group setting, you can definitely come in and ask your questions in the Facebook community. The Facebook community is It's My Money Squad. So that's IT_$ My Money Squad. That's my trademark brand. So I encourage you
Nice.
to check that out as well. So thanks again, Aaron, for having me. Hopefully folks listening have found these to be helpful for them in their journey as they come to work with you to get in, the house of their dreams. It is one of the biggest purchases you'll make in your lifetime. So you want to make sure not only do you get in the house of your dreams, that you stay in.
That's very true. And there's a lot of people, not to make this go on much longer, but there's a lot of people in forbearance right now because of the pandemic. So there's a lot of people that weren't prepared, to have that, one stream of income, dry up and disappear. So I always try to tell people you have to have more than one stream of income. I have the real estate and I have an essential services business online that deals with, electricity and home security and all that type of stuff. So I have multiple streams of income coming in. In this day and age, it's just too easy not to have it. So
That's right.
again, I really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to come on today. And thank you so much for coming on. It was a great conversation. It was great to finally meet you outside of Clubhouse. And
Yes.
thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.